everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here with another R. Kelly update. As you guys know, he had a hearing today in Chicago on his federal charges. And here are some of the things that took place. This is from a USA Today article that came out about the hearing. So it says that R. Kelly appeared in federal court in Chicago on Wednesday for another status hearing. In one of his cases, which could be ready for trial next spring. It says Kelly appeared in court in the prison orange uniform. They didn't let him change into street clothes. And they say that he was standing stoically with his hands behind his back and that he nodded to a group of supporters that were in the courtroom as he was being led out. Prosecutors pushed to set a trial date in late April 2020, and that trial date is actually April 27th that they are expecting to start the Chicago federal cases. It says, but Kelly's defense lawyers were hesitant given there are 4 state and federal cases pending against him, none of which have trial dates yet. And it says, quote, I don't know if we're in a position to set a trial date, said lead defense attorney Steve Greenberg. Everyone wants to go first. And he goes on to say, you know, we're beholden to different jurisdictions and different judges, added Kelly's new defense attorney, Michael Leonard, speaking to reporters later on. And I'll have that clip for you guys after this. And it says, at this point, we have a date of April 27th in Chicago. It's not certain. It may change. There may be other dates and other jurisdictions may end up proceeding this case. We just don't know. There's another status hearing was set for October 30th, during which a schedule for pretrial motions will be discussed. And it says, in addition, Kelly's lawyers expect to go back to court in September 18th to argue again for Kelly's release on bail while awaiting trial. And Leonard said Kelly's spirits have improved since he was moved from solitary confinement to general population in the Metropolitan Correction Center in downtown Chicago, where he has been since his arrest in July. And you guys remember I talked about that. It was on Sunday when news broke that they were actually going to move him to the general population. He goes on to say, I think you saw that Robert looked the best he looked since the ordeal began. I think when you're in solitary confinement, it's not a Robert Kelly issue, it's an everybody issue. The courts have recognized, the experts have recognized it. It takes a huge psychological toll. So I think you see the unburdening of his spirit. Now he's in general population.
Mr. Kelly.
Okay. Can you tell us why you might have issues with the April trial date?
Well, we really don't know that we won't be ready in April, but as Mr. Greenberg said in court, the amount of production of materials by the government is voluminous, probably 30, 40, 50 discs of materials. So what that will result in is us filing probably a number of pretrial motions, trying to exclude evidence, perhaps attacking the indictment, and maybe even addressing grand jury issues. So we need a lot of time to dig into those discs to determine what those motions are going to be. Luckily, Judge Leinenweber is going to be very liberal, I think, with that. We're coming back in 6 weeks. And then at that time, they'll set a schedule for us to file motions. So we should have ample time to get in a position to file those motions. And the other issue is that we're dealing with a parallel case in federal court in New York. So that makes it difficult because we got the New York materials dumped on us really at the same time as the Chicago materials. And so on the one hand, we're trying to develop an overall strategy for all the cases, but we have to be responsive on each case to the judge's deadlines in that particular case. So it kind of makes things difficult from a logistical standpoint.
Today, I thought one of the things you guys were going to ask for is that he could be released out on bond. Possibly you're going to ask the judge what that. What was the issue with him not securing amounts?
So the issue is a bond is we have to file a motion for reconsideration, which we've done. The judge is now going to hear that, I think, Wednesday, September 18th or 19th. They changed the date after we left. So we're going to ask Judge Leinenweber to reconsider the idea that there should be a set of conditions by which he could fashion a remedy that Mr. Kelly could be out on bond. with obviously no danger to the community, and there's no risk of flight here. Mr. Kelly is not going anywhere, and he's not in danger to the community because these allegations are 10 to 15 to 20 years old. So we're hopeful that with the support of pretrial services, who's issued a report saying it's appropriate for Mr. Kelly to be released, we're hopeful that Judge Leinenweber agrees with us, and we're going to take that shot on the 18th or 19th when he reconsiders that motion. Yeah, I think if you saw Robert today, he looks probably the best he's looked since this ordeal began. I think when you're in solitary confinement, it's not a Robert Kelly issue, it's everybody who's in solitary confinement. We've dealt with this in a lot of other cases. The courts recognize, the experts recognize, it takes a huge psychological toll on people. So you can see kind of an unburdening of the spirit, the fact that he's now a general population.
Does the fact that this was the first case to have a date set, is that an indication that this will be the first one to be trial?
No. I think we're still going to have to deal with the issue in New York of when they want to go to trial. There's some prosecutors who are going to be pushing the judge for a date. There's going to be the judge who may or may not want that case to go before this case or trail this case. So we're kind of beholden to all the different jurisdictions and different judges. So at this point, we have a date. This date is not certain in Chicago. It may change. And there may be other dates in other jurisdictions that end up preceding this case. So at this point, we just don't know.
What kind of a location are you considering as a secure location that is being worked on for this release? Is it a single-family house? Is it Trump Tower?
We don't want to get into that. I mean, if and when Robert gets released, I'm sure you guys will all find out extremely quickly. But in fashioning a release, you're always looking for a place that's appropriate, that'll be safe for him, and that can house the women that are part of his relationship. So we can't tell you where he will be living.
And it says, prior to Kelly's arrival in the courtroom, a group of about 10 people, mostly women, showed up to support him, smiling and hugging each other and mingling among reporters and media cameras. Several were seen crying outside the courtroom after his hearing. And then I don't know how this fool got somebody to talk to him, but y'all boy Dana J, he really acting like Geronda at this point. So he was quoted as saying, "I'm here to support my mentor, my good friend, my father figure, and to bring attention to the great injustice that is being done to him," said Dana Jackson, 32, who said he has known Kelly since he was 9 years old. And then, quote, "In actuality, he's not that person. I was a troubled youth in Baltimore, and he took me under his wing. He paid for me to go to college." Now, child, what college did Dana go to? And then I was reading somebody's video where somebody had put in the comments that Dana J said that he had 3 degrees, and then somebody said no, he had 2, and they said, yeah, first he said he had 2, now he has 3. So he said that R. Kelly paid for him to go to college, but he met R. Kelly when he was 9 years old. And so then it goes on to talk about, it says Kelly, 52, whose full name is Robert Sylvester Kelly, faces separate indictments in Illinois and New York alleging sex crimes and obstruction of justice. He also faces 2 criminal charges in Minnesota related to engaging in prostitution, and it says plus multiple crimes in Chicago, Illinois. Jail personnel moved Kelly into the general inmate population Tuesday following a complaint from his attorneys that he was being held in solitary in a restrictive section of a federal jail in Chicago. Greenberg cheered the change on Twitter Tuesday evening, and you guys remember I showed you that post. And it says questions about the singer's jail conditions could still come up at Wednesday's hearing, but prosecutors say the issue is moot, giving Kelly's transfer out of the restrictive unit. And it says, why was Kelly in solitary confinement? Authorities initially worried about inmates could try to hurt the Grammy Award winner because of his celebrity status or because he is accused of assaulting minors. Defense attorneys said Kelly had initial misgivings about entering the general population, but changed his mind after experiencing conditions in the special unit. Kelly was a no-show at a previous status hearing in Chicago. Kelly was arrested in July in Chicago after the separate indictment in Northern District of Illinois. And then just goes on talking about what the charges is and kind of giving the history. And then I also read, and I might have that article here, where they're saying that R. Kelly is actually going to be transported to Minneapolis for the arraignment on those charges that came out, where the girl said she was at the 2000 concert and he paid her to dance, that other nonsense. But let's talk briefly about the shenanigans that took place after that hearing. So Dana J was there with his suit on. He was there with them fake Kelly sisters. And why did anybody give them mic time is beyond me. So now they have gotten on all the news. You know how they have the news channel microphones all grouped together, and they're waiting for the attorneys to come out and speak to the press after the hearing. Well, somehow Dana and them fake sisters and got up to that microphone and they told the world that they are R. Kelly's sisters. And I'm just like, come on, where is the journalistic integrity in any of this? Like, come on, they just, oh my God, I wish they would just shut up. I really, really do, because they just making a circus out of this whole situation. Like this man doesn't have enough to deal with as it is. And then you already got people out there saying, claiming that R. Kelly said that, you know, he embraces them and he accepts them as his sisters, but we ain't got no proof that that conversation ever took place, and saying that, you know, once all this is over with, he wants to do a DNA test. And I don't no more believe that than I believe any of the crap that Dana J let come out of his mouth. So I haven't been able to find any footage of them actually talking to the press, but I do have this image right here. And then there was a journalist who was actually at the hearing, and she posted on her platform, and I think she was actually the one that took the picture, and she says that and she captioned the picture, R. Kelly's sisters speaking after his hearing or something like that. I was just like, Lord have mercy. Then I don't know if you guys saw this video, but this came out yesterday. Somebody caught Joycelyn and Azriel riding down Michigan Avenue in this little cute car right here yesterday, so I thought this was crazy. And then speaking of Azriel and Joycelyn, I posted a live stream of the rally that took place yesterday in Chicago, and a couple of people thought that they had saw Azriel and Joycelyn in the crowd, and so I indicated in the comments that I didn't think that that was Azriel and Joycelyn. And I wouldn't doubt the fact that Dana J probably put those girls up there because they favor Azriel and Joycelyn, just to get people talking. But someone also commented that one of the girls was actually the daughter of one of the protesters, and that they had seen her picture before on the lady's social media, and she does favor, I think it was the girl that looked like Azriel. And then I basically said that I didn't think it was Azriel and Joycelyn, because one of that video that I just posted of the girls riding through Chicago on Michigan Avenue, and the fact that the girl at the protest had braids in her hair, and I've never seen Azriel with braids in her hair, and in that video where they're driving in the car, she doesn't have braids in her hair. And that allegedly, that footage was captured yesterday morning, I believe it was, or the night before. And then the girl that looks like Joycelyn, when I did a screenshot and I blew it up, and it really didn't look like Joycelyn once I blew it up, and you could see her facial features. So I don't think that was them. And then I also was like, if that was Azriel and Joycelyn at the rally, why weren't they introduced? Why weren't they given the mic to speak? Because Will spoke. And so why didn't they give a comment or anything? And it is possible that if it was them, they could have said, okay, we're going to come, but we're not going to speak or give a statement, which wouldn't make sense to me. And it just didn't make sense to me that they would even be involved in a rally I don't know. I just don't think that that was them. Okay. So, and like I said, nobody acted like it was them. They weren't introduced. They didn't speak. So that's my reasoning for believing that it wasn't them. And then I just don't think that they would have, I don't know, they just don't strike me as the type that would have associated themselves with the rally. Okay, so moving on, here's a story. It says R. Kelly's daughter says that music, I guess it's her refuge, has gotten her through everything that's going on. And this was from the Associated Press, and it says, for a long time, Buku Abi ran from pursuing music. Although she is the daughter of one of pop music's most popular and successful singers-songwriters, her father is also among the most infamous. He is R. Kelly, currently in jail, facing multiple charges of abuse and trafficking. And then it has a quote from her saying, I think you get to see a different side of it than somebody who sees it from the outside and gets to see the glitz and glam. I got to see the hell part of it, said 21-year-old Abi, born Joanne Kelly, in a recent interview with the Associated Press. I didn't want to be in the industry. And so it says, even before she was born, her father was under scrutiny for his interactions with young women. It doesn't say allegedly, but we're going to say allegedly, he had secretly married his then protege Aaliyah when the late R&B sensation was just 15 in 1994. But by the time Abi was a child, while Kelly was still a multi-platinum star, raking up hit after hit, he was also on trial accused of child pornography. He would eventually be acquitted in 2008. And let me put a pin right there, because the other day a song that R. Kelly did with Chris Brown came out in 2015, went double platinum the other day. So people are still listening to R. Kelly, and they're still buying the music. And Kel's Nation was the one that had posted about it, and I replied to her post. I said, man, I bet they won't come after Chris Brown, telling Chris Brown, you better take that song down, because that would be an epic cursing out, okay? I can just hear Chris Brown now going after the mute R. Kelly people, if they even thought about coming at him. And then it just goes to show, like, all the people who have collaborated with R. Kelly, and he's written and produced them, they picked and choose the ones that they want to go after, the ones that they knew would cow down and remove their music. But obviously Chris Brown wasn't one of them. So that song went double platinum the other day. So you think about it, it's been 4 years since that song came out, and people are still buying it. So then the article goes on to say, Abi said going to public school for the first time as an early teen was challenging. She heard stories about her father that she had never heard before. And she says, at home, it's normal. You're living a life with your parents. Your dad and mom aren't going to go into all the bad things that might be going on outside of the house, she said, but kids in school don't necessarily care. 5th and 6th grade is when I started learning the sore part of it, the not so good part. I think that was the hardest part for me, because for so long I went with this image of who my dad was and what my family was. Things were so bad in school, she even contemplated suicide. But though school is where her life almost ended, it's also where she felt it truly began. She recalls singing on stage in high school during a performance, which she said literally felt like drugs. I needed more of this, she added. Clearly, I can't keep running from it anymore. Ever since then, I've been in it, and it's literally saved my life. Entering the music business comes with a different challenge for Abi. She can't escape the fact that R. Kelly is her father. She is no longer in touch with him and says being his daughter is like a double-edged sword. I definitely run across challenges. People wanting to work with me to spite him, or people not wanting to work with me just because of who he is, she said. I've definitely come across turmoil, being judged for really no reason at all, just based off associations. I've been pushing through it. Me making the art, it saved my life, and there's nothing really that would be able to stop me. Abi decided not to use the name her parents gave her in her career. She settled on the stage named Buku Abi about 3 years ago, after first going by the name Ari, A-R-I-I-R-A-Y-E, Aria. In the last 5 years, she's been hard at work on her debut EP, Don't Call Me, released this March. Her sister, Ja Kelly, produced the album, which echoes Sa and other millennial artists in the alternative R&B world. When it comes to making music, she doesn't deny that's where she and her father connect. That's a lot about him as an artist there's a lot about him as an artist that inspires me. He has made mistakes in his life and other things that he's dealing with, but when it comes to that, I can't take that away from him, she said. That's the one thing that will always keep us connected. Girl, call your daddy. Joanne need to go ahead and call her daddy and just make the best of the situation. So it says, Abi once thought she and her father would mend things. Under her former stage name, Arie, y'all help me out here. She collaborated with him on the song Wanna Be There, a plea to restore their broken relationship. It appears on the 2015 album, The Buffet. Oh, then they quote the lyrics from the song. It says, when you conquer the world, I just want to be there. But no matter how successful, baby girl, when you need someone to lean on, I just want to be your shoulder. R. Kelly sings to Abi on the song. And it says, at that time, I was in a place where I was genuinely trying to have a relationship with my father, she said, but it was so complicated at that time, as it always is. It was a great experience. I'm glad that I did it, but it just wasn't like what everybody assumed, and that's the part that sucks. It wasn't this big kumbaya moment. R. Kelly, then it goes on, talk about him being in jail and about the Lifetime docu-series. And it says, Abi says she tries not to pay attention to the daily updates about her father. I don't let that be a part of my everyday life. We don't have a relationship, so it's not like me to check in on him, she said. I don't personally go look it all up and read. I keep myself out of it. Abi currently lives in Atlanta and appeared on the WeTV reality series Growing Up Hip Hop Atlanta alongside her mother and R. Kelly's ex-wife choreographer Drea Kelly. Just watching my baby grow into this young woman and be unapologetic about who she is and what she stands for and what she believes, really just being her own artist and owning her artistry and not coming out trying to be or ride the tail of R. Kelly's daughter. She's really going at this alone, and that's what brings her pride, Drea Kelly said. I'm elated. But Drea Kelly, who was featured in Surviving R. Kelly and has accused her former husband of domestic abuse, has also been disheartened by what she sees as the public blaming Abi for Kelly's alleged misdeeds. Now, who blamed that girl for anything that her father did? Can y'all please point me to the source of where Buku ever said that she was being blamed for anything that R. Kelly did? Drea, we're going to need you to stop, okay? So she says, if your mom has an addiction, should everybody judge you off your mom's addiction? Everyone would say no, but then why is it okay for people to do it to my daughter simply because of who she is, said Kelly, who has 3 children with the singer. I've taught Buku, I've taught all my children, you don't wait for the world to give you a shot. You go out and take your shot. And Drea, that would explain why you are here trying to pimp this girl so that she can be your cash cow now that the R. Kelly cash cow has dried up. And so it says, I just want people to know that at the end of the day, the stereotypes that you may have of other people, whether it be about race, sexuality, their financial status, don't judge a book by its cover, because 9 times out of 10, you're completely wrong, she said. I want to be an example of that. And that was Abu talking, closing out the article. You guys, I can't find the article. I tried to leave all them articles over, but I think my computer shut down and rebooted because of updates, because I had like 4 articles open that I was going to share with you guys. But one of them talked about R. Kelly, and they were saying they had this hearing coming up about his detention, even though they removed him from general population. But they were basically saying that even though he was in the solitary confinement unit, it wasn't as Steve Greenberg claimed that it was. They said that wherever he was housed at before they moved him to general population, that he had access to commissary, that he used to buy Snicker bars all the time. They said he had phone privileges, he had visitors, that he was able to move around and do all the things. He had access to a TV. So all these things that they're saying that Steve Greenberg is claiming he didn't have access because he was in the hole, they're saying that that's simply not true. He was in a special housing unit, but he had the same accommodations as the people in general population. And then they went on and they talk about a phone call that R. Kelly had, and like I said, I can't find the article that I had saved for that. And they were basically saying that in this phone call, he was saying that, he had his idea of general population was based on, things that he had heard, like, based on what you're charged with, the inmates might jump on him, that he got his ideas from the movies and television shows, that general population was a scary place to be, and that's why he didn't want to be there. But they're saying that now he's in general population, he's happy, and I would think that he probably has a lot of fans in general population that probably are not going to let anything happen to him, that he probably doing okay, probably in the teaching some songs and everything else. So that was one of the things. And then the other thing was that it said when he would be transported to Minnesota for his arraignment. And I want to say that it's either this week or next week that they're going to transport him to Minneapolis to answer to those charges and see find out who his accuser is. And then he's going to be transported back. And then you guys know that on September 19th, I think it is, he has his hearing on the state charges again. And then on October 4th, I believe, he goes to New York for that hearing. And then on October 30th, he has a discovery hearing on the Chicago federal charges. So there's going to be a whole lot of moving around going on. But, the state and the government has to pay for that. So, they want to bring these charges and do this. And let me see what else did I have. Oh, and I want to thank you guys for watching the the Kevin Terrell live that took place last night, where he was at the rally. And so that was a good thing. And then another thing I want to say about that rally was, people were asking, why wasn't there more people there? Why didn't more people come out? And so keep in mind that Dana J is the one that's organizing this rally. And so he's basically in a group. I think it's a Facebook group. And so he's only speaking to the people in his group, technically, when you think about it, because most of the people that are watching live stream videos, they're not in the Chicago area. And I don't see a lot of people, packing up their bags and traveling, incurring that expense. And a lot of people may not be able to incur that expense to travel all over the country to get to Chicago, to do a protest. So I think if there was somebody in Chicago that was actually organizing, who had a voice in Chicago, who had reach in Chicago, then it would be, better organized and more people would attend the rally. I just don't, that's like if somebody came to St. Pete, like something happened in St. Peter, happened to somebody in St. Petersburg, and somebody who I'd never heard of, didn't know anything about, came into St. Pete to protest whatever happened in our city, people probably wouldn't show up for that. And it was the same way like when Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown and somebody else was killed, and they tried to host rallies, here in the city to show support, for Black Lives Matter. Because there wasn't that local connection, people didn't go and support the events. We would go down there, like one time it was only about 13 people. Another time I went, it may have been 20 people. So it never garnered a lot of support because there wasn't that local connection. But I believe that if somebody from Chicago was to go in the forefront, take the lead, organize, be able to get information out to the public about what's going on, then the rally would be bigger in terms of attendance and be more organized or whatever. But it's going to take somebody from Chicago to do that, I believe. And then I think about, there's this video on YouTube. It's probably about 5 years old. And I've been trying to find the video, but I can't remember whose page it was posted on. But it was basically R. Kelly and a lot of guys from the community. It was like, I don't know if these guys were politicians or whatever, but they were like businessmen. And they were in this place and they were having just a discussion about what was going on in the community, what they could do to better help kids, stop violence and that type of thing. And so I'm thinking it had to have been maybe 20 guys sitting in that room and they were having this conversation with R. Kelly. And I was like, okay, well, where are those guys? Like, if those guys would come out, show support, and and organize something, I believe that that would be well received. But I think with what Dana J is doing, there's a lot of skepticism about him, and I'm not the only one that's like, dude, you clout chasing, you just trying to make a name for yourself. So he's coming into their community and trying to do these rallies, and people, it's just human nature that people aren't going to be receptive to anything like that. And so that's why I shared the live stream from the Kevin Terrell guy. And I don't know, I just really like his personality, his enthusiasm. And so I am going to post a video that he did this morning where he was basically thanking people for coming out. And he also talked about something he's going to do in the future, that he was inspired from the rally and people coming to the listening party that he did. And when I tell y'all, I'm so tired because I was up trying to watch the listening party, because he was basically playing all of R. Kelly's music at this listening party. So that too wasn't really like the large crowd that he was expecting, but he was happy with the number of people that turned out, because I always believe that who shows up is who was meant to be there, so you can't worry about the people who didn't show up. Be thankful for the people that were. And so he, he was basically saying that he was motivated by that, and then people kept reporting the live streams. Facebook kept, shutting down the live streams, and he had to keep coming back. But he was determined to do what he said he was going to do, because R. Kelly was trying to shut him down. And so he said he was motivated. I've said that like 4 times, right? He was motivated last night to do that. And now he's decided that he's going to put on a forum, and he's going to organize a forum. And the forum isn't going to be so much a R. Kelly forum, but it's going to be a forum to discuss what Lifetime did, and why are we going to stand by and allow the entertainment industry to put out a docu-series and go uncontested with what they put out in that docu-series. And so I'm going to post his live from this morning. I'm going to do that in a separate video, because it was like 30 minutes long, and this video has already gone on long enough. But I hope you guys will check that out, and I hope you'll go onto Facebook and support his channel. I think he's at 5,000 friends, which is the limit on Facebook, but they allow you to have followers. So even if his friends list is full, go ahead and become a follower of his channel if you are on Facebook. He goes live every day with these inspirational messages, but he talked about the R. Kelly thing because he was doing the listening party. And in the beginning, I don't think the listening party had anything to do with the rally, but then Dana J reached out to him, and then he decided to partner with him. And so that's how he got involved. And then he was just saying thank you this morning for the people that supported everything that went on, and talk about how it had inspired him. So I think that's it for this video. I feel like I'm missing something, because like I said, I had like 4 or 5 articles open of stuff that I was going to share with you guys that had came up, and now I can't find the articles. And so just off the top of my head, talked about the girls riding around in the car, talked about the hearing, that they scheduled a date April 27th, talked about him moving into general population and how the people at the MCC are saying that Steve Greenberg wasn't telling the truth, and that even though R. Kelly was in the special housing unit, he still had the same accommodations as people in general population, and that they were basically doing it, one, because of his celebrity, and two, because he said he didn't want to go into general population. Oh, there's a story circulating, and this wasn't on mainstream media, and I keep pointing that out to you guys. Mainstream media are the articles that I read to you all because they are more credible. When I'm doing something that was on TMZ, The Blast, or whatever, I say to you guys, this came from TMZ or The Blast, so take it with a grain of salt. But they were reporting that Aaliyah, the whole Aaliyah marriage thing, is supposed to be a part of one of his cases, that they're going to introduce that as evidence. I really don't have a problem with them introducing that as evidence, because I don't believe R. Kelly ever really married Aaliyah, because we haven't seen a certified, like with the state's raised seal, not with the watermark of the state, but the actual raised seal, like what they stamp with that little machine. We've never seen one of those. I'm saying that it was an official marriage license. Two, we've never heard from the clerk of the court who actually received the documents to say, yes, they did file, because, oh, and this is the other thing. Anybody can request a marriage license, but like, you could have a marriage license, you could get married, have a wedding and everything, but afterwards, the person who officiated the marriage has to be, first of all, authorized to officiate a marriage, and they have to notarize, that the marriage took place, and then you take that and you take it back to the clerk's office, and then the clerk office makes it official. Okay, they seal it and say that this is an official marriage. And so we've never heard from the clerk, who said that, yeah, they turned these papers in, that these papers were filed with the clerk's office. It wasn't an official marriage. I have never heard anybody from the Cook County Courthouse, the person that actually, the clerk, the person when you walk in and you hand them the document, never heard from that person, never heard from the person who sealed the document, never heard from the person who entered the document into the system. Never heard from the guy, his name is Nathan somebody, who actually is on the paper as being the officiant of the marriage that allegedly took place. We've never heard from this guy saying, yes, he did perform this marriage. So if they are going to enter that as evidence, then go ahead and enter that as evidence. Okay, so we can get some testimony from these people, and we can lay the whole Aaliyah thing to rest. Okay, once and for all, we can lay that to rest. But I believe that the whole Aaliyah, him and Aaliyah being married, that was all a publicity stunt to promote her album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, or whatever, the song, the album. I think that was all just a publicity stunt for all of that. And I think that's it. There was some other bloggers out there, putting out stories, but, you have to take those with a grain of salt, because you know that you never can tell, because we always have these anonymous sources are the ones that are giving this information. We don't have no names. We don't have no quotations or anything, official quotes. So the people who they're quoting can come back and say, that's a lie, I never talked to you. So, that's it for me, guys. I'm going to wrap this up. And if I find those other articles and it was something that I didn't cover, I'll talk about it in the next video. So go ahead and leave your comments, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.